Okay, okay. So I welcome you all to yet another beautiful session of Xtrend Speed Life with my humble self, Sheriff Daramola. I shall be taking you on a journey into the chart where we shall be evaluating price action using trends, identifying trends, chart patterns, and market structures, and we shall be using these parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us during the New York session. In addition to that, I would also suggest that if you do have any pair you want us to look at, type it in the comment section and we'll try as much as possible to squeeze in into my schedule for today. So what we are going to be doing today simply is we are going to be looking at the usual pairs we used to look at, the major ones, the US oil and the UK oil, after which we are going to randomly choose foreign currency pairs that we're going to be looking out for this week. So our Monday sessions is always we choose pairs. We actually don't know where price is going to go to as we are just in the early hours of the new week. So we are going to be looking at potential opportunities that are lining up for us, and we shall be having yardsticks and parameters that will guide our actions, after which the following day we will have gotten signals and confirmations that we're going to be using to monitor our trades as the week goes by. So without further ado, let's dive into the chart and let's see how price action is running at this point in time. So as usual, the first pair we're going to be looking at today is going to be the US oil as usual. And what are we going to be having here? So the first thing I want to be looking at is great. Let's go to the higher time frame where we look at how what structure are we having on the higher time frame. On the higher time frame, we've observed that our bullish trend line that we identified a couple of months ago has been broken down during the course of last week's trading session. We saw our price broke down that bullish trend line, and we see a scenario where prices continue to find higher lows, and we don't know how this is going to play out. Are we going to be having price go to do a retest of that bullish trend line where we're going to be seeing a trend continuation to the downside? Well, that's a scenario we are going to be looking at. And is it possible that price is going to probably continue to the downside from this area? That's another scenario we're going to be looking at. And is it possible that price is going to break above this bullish trend line, retest the trend line, and probably send price going to the upside? Is another scenario we're going to be looking at. So let's dive into the lower time frame and let's see how structures has been playing out in the last couple of weeks, and we shall be using that parameters to determine how we are going to take advantage of an opportunity as we head into the new week. Now, if we look at what has been happening, we looked at what happened throughout last week. We saw our price broke down that demand zone. We had a very strong demand zone which has been holding price supported for quite some time since the later part of June, and we saw a significant breakdown of that demand zone during the course of last week's trading session, which we took advantage of, remember. And we saw our price did a retracement back into a key level at $102 area. Price rejected it, came back down, and we took advantage of this bullish move as well during the course of last week. So right now for the month so far, we've been on a positive picture on the US oil. And if you remember how our expectations were going during the course of last week's trading session, we were saying that if price rejects this demand zone, we are going to be looking out for price to come into our TP target for bullish momentum around the 104 and the 108 area, which already happened, and we were expecting a selling opportunity within the zone if we cite a reversal pattern within the zone. So let's see how price has been playing out between last week and this, I think the later part of last week and what we have now. So if we look closely into the structure, we can see how this key level still continue to hold our structure. This key level has been serving us since last week. The key level at $102 area has been serving us, and I can remember vividly that on Friday I was telling you that if we do see a breakout of that bearish red dotted line you can see on your screen, we see a breakout of structure, retest of structure, we want to take advantage of a bullish momentum. After which I said that bullish trend line, the bullish trend line here, that is the gray dotted line that you can see I'm moving right now, shall be our yardstick for any bullish momentum thereafter. However, if we look at what has happened since the beginning of the week, we can see our price was actually consolidating between the $104 and the $105 area before we witnessed a breakdown of that bullish trend line, and after which we saw a rejection of the key level at $102 area. So what this simply means, the rejection of $102 area at this point in time, please try to take note of the words I'm using. At this point in time is suggesting that the buyers are still very strong right above that key level. So what do we want to be looking at going into the new week? Now, if we look at this bearish red dotted line we connect here, we can see, if I give you a visual representation of what I'm talking about here, we saw our price came here, rejected that bearish trend line, rejected it one more time before we saw a breakout of that trend line, and appears price has come back to do a retest of that trend line at this point. So this week now, what is going to be our expectation this week? Are we going to see price continue to the upside from this area, or we are going to see price break down that bearish trend line, do a retest of structure to push price further down? So that question now is something that these parameters we've identified at this point shall point us or lead us to going into the New York session. So the first major parameter we're having here is the key level sitting at $102 area. And what we want to be looking out for, allow me to delete this so it's no longer relevant at this point. So what the key level is going to be doing for us is going to be guiding our actions during this new week. So what are we going to be looking out for? So if we see a breakdown of this key level during the New York session, then a retest of structure with patterns on lower time frame that supports a trend continuation to the downside will be a very good scenario to take advantage of a bearish momentum. And if we are going to be taking a bearish momentum from this point, where will our take profit target be? If we look left, we can see that between the $98 area and the $95 area appears to have been a region that has been has supported price in the past. That is, this region has been a major demand zone in the past. So what we want to be looking out for is to place our take profit target around this area, as this area has been a demand zone. So there is a possibility that price could come back into this area. Then we could probably see a continuation to the upside from this zone. And what will that dovetail to? If we are going to be taking profit around that area, at least we have a minimum of, let's say, 400 pips to catch, between 400 and 650 pips to catch here if price goes bearish. Now, the other scenario we're going to be looking out for is the possibility of a bullish momentum from this point. Remember, we identified this breakout of this bearish red trend line we see here, and there is a possibility that price could do a retest of that bearish trend line. We all know that from a technical perspective, as soon as price breaks out of a trend line, we normally expect price to come and do a retest of that trend line that will push price to the direction of the prior leading price action. So the possibility of price going to the upside from this area is also something we cannot ignore, as we really need to prepare ourselves before we head into the New York session so that we don't get caught in a dilemma or in a scenario where we get confused during the New York session. So what we are going to be looking out for is this. On the For the bullish momentum, let's scale down to a much lower time frame, let's say the 15 minutes time frame, where we want to identify structures that will guide our action. So if we look at what's happening here on the 15 minutes time frame, we can see we have this impulsive move to the downside, and then we saw a sharp rejection of $102 area. Price moved back up into $103.50. Then price came back to do a sharp rejection of that level. So what we want to be looking out for is this. This is more or less looking like a double bottom structure, which is a strong reversal pattern, but it is not yet confirmed, and it will only be confirmed when we see a breakout of the neckline of that double bottom structure, a retest of structure with confirmations to join the rally to the upside. So what we want to be doing here is to identify a key level, which is our neckline right above this area. So if you give me a line, give our line chart here, we have this area serving as our neckline, that is the $103.50 area. So let's give this a purple instead so that we can differentiate this. So we have a neckline here. So mind you, after a double bottom structure can only be confirmed if we have a break above of this neckline, which is sitting at exactly $103.50. So let's give this, okay, we have something like this. So as we head into the New York session, for any bullish momentum, if this is what we are going to be looking out for, we want to see a break above of this neckline. Then price comes back to do a retest of this neckline, where we look for patterns to join the rally to the upside. So where will our take profit target be if a bullish momentum suffices? Well, hold on a second. So where will our take profit target be? Remember, we have this bullish trend line that was broken on our daily time frame. Hold on a second, let me show you so that you don't get things mixed up. So we have this bullish trend line that was broken here, and remember I was telling you there is a possibility that price could come back to do a retest of this bullish trend line before we see the momentum to the downside. So that's the retest I'm talking about on the 1 hour time frame. So let's go back to the 1 hour time frame. So what I'm having here is this. So there is a possibility that if price breaks the neckline here, do a retest of this neckline, we might be looking at our take profit around the $109 area, which also shares a confluence with the bullish trend line we identified on the daily time frame, and which will dovetail to how many pips that's going to be. Let's hold on and see. That's around 500 to 600 pips to catch if price plays in that direction. So on the US oil now, we have two scenarios that are going to guide our actions during the new week. And the first scenario is this: if we see a breakdown of the key level at $102 area, that's a signal. We are not getting too excited when the signal comes up. A retest of the $102 area, and we look out for patterns on lower time frame, then we can join the decline to the downside with the take profit target sitting between the $94 area and the $97.50 area. However, if price breaks above the neckline here at $103.50, a retest of structure should confirm a bullish momentum at this point, where we'll be aiming at a take profit target at $109 area, which will dovetail to between 500 to 600 pips on this one. So these are the scenarios we are going to be looking out for as we head into the new week. So let's see how price plays out during the New York session, and we shall come here tomorrow to do a follow-up in that regard. If you don't understand what I've said so far, or you need further clarifications, or you need questions you might want to ask me to be able to assist you during the New York session, kindly drop it in the comment section and I will be willing to be of help. So I'll be giving 10 to 15 seconds in that regard. So while I scroll through the comment section to see how whatever questions or inquiry that is needed at this point.